Real estate versus stocks. It's the most debated question in personal finance. Your uncle says buy land, they're not making it anymore. Your best friend says just put it in an index fund and chill. So who's right? Here's the problem. Most people compare the wrong numbers. They look at rent checks without counting vacancies. They look at stock returns without counting crashes. And they completely forget two things: the hours and the zeros. I'm going to show you the real math over 20 years using two fictional but realistic people, Jake and Marcus. Same starting point, same money, different paths. By the end of this 15 minutes, you won't just know who wins, you'll know which path fits your life. Let's make this fair. Jake, $50,000 saved, earns $55,000 per year, buys a $250,000 rental property. 20% down payment equals $50,000. 30-year mortgage at 7% interest. Marcus, $50,000 saved, earns $55,000 per year, puts everything into a total stock market index fund, adds $300 per month automatically. Same age, same city, same financial starting line. The only difference, what they do with that $50,000. Jake's monthly mortgage, $1,330. Monthly rent, $1,800. On paper, that's $470 per month profit before any expenses. Jake feels like a genius. He drives past his property and thinks, I own that. Marcus sets up auto contributions once. No tenants, no showings, no 10 p.m. phone calls. His coworkers ask what he's investing in. He says, index. They nod politely and change the subject. Nobody's impressed. Day one, Jake has a story. Marcus has a confirmation email. But feelings and math are two very different things. Let's fast forward to year 3. Jake collected roughly $64,800 in rent over 3 years. His mortgage payments totaled $47,880. That leaves $16,920 in gross cash flow. Sounds great, right? Now watch what happens. Property tax, $3,000 per year, $9,000 total. Insurance, $1,500 per year, $4,500 total. Water heater replacement, $1,200. Leaking roof repair, $2,800. 1 month vacancy between tenants. Lost rent, $1,800. Cleaning and relisting, $600. Added up, Jake's actual net cash flow over 3 years? Not $16,920, not even close. And that doesn't include a single hour of Jake's time, weekends, evenings, lunch breaks. Marcus? He put in $50,000 plus $10,800 in monthly contributions. At roughly 10% average annual return, his portfolio is sitting at about $76,000. Zero phone calls, zero emergencies, zero stress. Let me pause here and give you the complete list of costs every real estate investor faces, because YouTube thumbnails never show this. Vacancy. Average rental sits empty 1 month per year. That's a full mortgage payment with zero income. Maintenance and repairs. Budget 1 to 2% of property value annually. On a $250,000 house, that's $2,500 to $5,000 per year. Capital expenditures, CapEx. Roof, 20 to 25 years. Furnace, 15 to 20 years. Water heater, 10 to 12 years. $5,000 to $15,000 chunks. Property management, 8 to 10% of monthly rent if you hire out. If you DIY, it's a part-time job. Bad tenants. Evictions cost 3 to 6 months of lost rent plus legal fees. Can erase an entire year's profit. None of this shows up in the $470 per month cash flow number. But it shows up eventually. By year 5, Jake is deep in the reality of being a landlord. Third tenant, roof replaced, $8,500. Plumbing emergency, $1,400. Another month vacant between tenants. He raised rent to $1,950, but property taxes and insurance went up too. His actual cash-on-cash return after all expenses? Not bad, but not the 15 to 20% he bragged about at the barbecue. Marcus? His portfolio, $135K to $150K by year 7. He didn't pick stocks, didn't time the market, he just didn't touch it. Here's what's happening underneath the surface. Jake's wealth grows slowly after expenses, and it requires constant attention. Marcus's wealth grows in a curve, slow at first, then faster and faster. Compounding is boring for the first 5 years and astonishing for the next 15. By year 10, Jake's property value, $335K to $350K. Remaining mortgage, around $166K. Jake's equity, $170K to $184K. Jake's total out-of-pocket beyond down payment, $20K to $35K. Marcus's portfolio at 10% return plus $300 a month, total contributions, $86K, $50K plus $36K. At year 10, they're surprisingly close. Jake might be slightly ahead thanks to leverage, but here's what that leverage cost Jake. Hundreds of hours managing, hundreds of thousands in debt, one single asset in one single zip code. Marcus diversified across thousands of companies and never lost a night of sleep. Now let's go all the way. Year 20. Jake's property, $450,000 to $500,000. Mortgage, nearly paid off. Equity, $400,000 to $500,000. Net cash flow profit after 20 years of maintenance, repairs, turnover, taxes, insurance, and at least one major renovation, $40,000 to $80,000. Marcus's portfolio at 10% plus $300 a month, total contributions over 20 years, $122,000. Portfolio value, $420,000 to $460,000. They end up in the same ballpark, roughly $400,000 to $500,000 each. But how they got there is completely different. Jake worked for his. Marcus waited for his. Jake had stress, risk concentration, illiquidity, and debt. Marcus had volatility, but liquidity and freedom. Now, I've shown you the downsides of real estate, but if I only showed downsides, I'd be just as biased as the stock-only influencers. So let me be fair. Real estate wins in specific situations. Strong rent-to-price ratio. Monthly rent at least 0.8 to 1% of purchase price. You treat it as a business, screen tenants, budget for CapEx, build systems. House hacking, live in one unit, rent others, near zero housing cost. 1031 exchanges, defer capital gains taxes forever by rolling into new properties. Depreciation, deduct theoretical decline from taxable income even as property appreciates. And yes, leverage is powerful. Jake used $50,000 to control $250,000. That 5-to-1 leverage is why real estate creates more millionaires than stocks in many surveys. But leverage cuts both ways. If the market drops 10%, Jake loses $25,000. Marcus loses $5,000. And stocks, they're not risk-free either. In 2008, the market dropped 37%. In March 2020, it dropped 34% in 1 month. If Marcus had $150K and watched it fall to $95K in weeks, that's gut-wrenching. Most retail investors panic sell during crashes and buy back after recovery, locking in losses forever. Stocks also don't send you a monthly check you can spend. Dividends yield only 1.5 to 2%. On $150K, that's $200 a month, not life-changing. And no depreciation, no 1031 exchanges, no tenants paying your mortgage. See? Both sides have blind spots. So who wins, Jake or Marcus? The real trap isn't real estate, and it isn't stocks. The real trap is picking either one based on a YouTube headline, a podcast clip, or something your uncle said at Thanksgiving, without running the full numbers for your situation. The best investors, they do both. They own property for leverage, cash flow, and tax benefits. They own index funds for liquidity, diversification, and zero effort. Because the answer that includes everything is the only answer that matters. If you want to build like a millionaire, do the math. Include the hours. Include the zeros. Hit like and subscribe to Build a Millionaire for more no-fluff wealth breakdowns. Comment below, team real estate or team stocks, or both.